Okay, Matteo, here's the simple crane. The boom is at 60 degrees, close to it. Got a 2.5 pound load, and why don't you raise and lower the load a bit?
Sure. We added that protractor just to be able to measure the angle of the boom. Very simple, just put a bolt in and throw a protractor on, make sure it's loose.
Right, and now the other thing is, I drew a straight line parallel to the side of the boom. You see that line there? And that line will line up with whatever angle the boom is at. Okay.
Here's the load working.
Okay.
Let's tie it off there.
Tie it off.
Remember to tie it off, just wrap it a few times around this back piece of scrap wood.
Yeah, either one.
Hold it in place.
Okay. Okay, now what's the signal for lowering the boom? Right, with the thumb. And lowering the load? Good. So let's lower the boom to, let's say, 30 degrees.
Yep, sounds good. Remember, grab it.
I tell you what, before you do that, no, tie it off again.
Yep.
And lower the load all the way to the ground.
Sounds good. Remember to hold your lines as you lower it. You don't want to let it go.
Like that. Okay. No, let it go a little further down.
A little further down? Okay.
Okay. Tie off the line, the load line. Now the boom line, we're going to slowly lower. Now.
Let me just readjust this.
Okay. So slowly on the boom. I'll tell you when you hit 30 degrees. All right, hold it there a second.
Yep.
Yeah, hold that protractor so it stops. There we go. All right, you're at about 40 degrees. Go down a little more. A little more. Good.
There we go. All right, now tie it off. It might slip a little, but I think our line is tight enough or coarse enough to where that's not a problem.
Okay, you were about 32 degrees, so we should be okay.
Good enough.
Now slide the whole crane back that way.
Yep.
Okay. Now hook on the load. It's already hooked on.
Yep.
So what's the hand signal for raising the load? Okay.
Index finger up.
Go for it.
There you go.
Tie it off. Now if you weren't holding it down there, what would happen?
Tips over.
Tips over, okay. How come?
Well, we have too much torque on this side of the pivot point. I think you can see right here is our pivot point, because if I let it go, that's the point it wants to rotate about.
Okay, and torque is?
Weight times distance. So we have more torque pulling counterclockwise on this side than we do torque pulling clockwise on the other.
Okay, torque is a force that causes rotation.
Correct.
And the whole crane wants to rotate about that pivot point.
Right here.
Okay, now let's have the poster up there.
Yep, sounds good.
We'll run the numbers. Okay, so that little triangle denotes the pivot point, and the crane body weighs 6 pounds. So torque is weight times distance. That's how we measure it.
Yep.
So the weight is 6 pounds, the distance is 14 inches.
That's for the crane body.
How do we get 14 inches?
Well, we take it from our line of force, which goes through the center of gravity of the crane body, to the pivot point, which is, let's say the line of force is about here-ish. That's from that line to the pivot point, the shortest distance.
Gotcha. Okay. And there'll be links at the end of this video telling you where to go to learn more about this. Okay, so on one side we have 84 inch-pounds of torque. That's for the torque of the crane body.
Yep.
And on the other side, what do we got?
Well, we have to factor in the torque of the boom and the torque of the load. So let's start with the load, which is 2.5 pounds.
Right.
And we take our measurement of distance from the line of force that goes through the center of gravity of the load, and we get 17 inches.
So the shortest distance from that line to the pivot point
is a right angle.
Okay. Good. Now, if we grab that triangle over there,
Yep, let me put this down real quick.
okay,
And remember, torque is weight times distance, so we'd multiply our force, our weight, by distance.
okay, now, but, stick that, okay, so that's so the boom is at a 60-degree angle, right? So we've got a right triangle, and the base angle is 60 degrees. Same thing with this white triangle.
Yep.
Now, in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, the short side is always half the hypotenuse.
Correct.
13 is half of 26, 17 is half of 34.
Yep.
Okay? So that's how we know that the distance is 17 inches. Okay, take the white triangle down.
Yep. And we can use that same principle for the distance of the boom.
Okay, so for the torque of the load, we've got the weight times distance. That gives us 42.5 inch-pounds.
Over here.
Now, the boom weighs 3 pounds, and we go through the center of gravity of the boom. So now we have a new triangle down there. The hypotenuse, instead of 34,
Is now 17.
right? So the distance is half of 17.
8.5. This little distance right here.
So 8.5 times 3, we get 25.5.
Add those together, we get 68 inch-pounds of torque for this side. And that is less than our 84 inch-pounds of torque on the crane body side. So when the boom is at 60 degrees, it should not tip over. And we can
Right.
test that.
Okay?
Right now our boom is at 30 degrees.
Well,
So-
we did 60 degrees already, right?
That's how it was when it started. And it didn't tip over then.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's unhook the load,
Yep.
and let's go up to 60 degrees again,
Just to make sure.
Okay, could we raise the boom? Slowly. All right, keep the protractor
steady.
from, because I'm going to zoom in and... Okay, we're about 55 degrees, go up a little bit more. Good, so lock it off.
Okay, sounds good.
So the boom's at 60 degrees. And hang the load on the hook.
Make sure your pulley's all good. There you go. Doesn't tip over at all.
Great, and the numbers agree with you.
Right.
Okay, now take that load off and boom down to 30 degrees.
If you can, use a coarser piece of line because it doesn't slip as easily. It lets us adjust things easier.
Yes.
Right.
Let's see, what do we got there? About 36 degrees. Come down a little more. A little more. Good.
Okay. So we can see we can get much finer movement. And it doesn't slip as easily. In fact, it didn't slip at all.
Good. All right, so now, well, we know what's going to happen, but do it anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah. Tips over.
Okay.